Now, so we know how to operate the viewport, and as I said, it's just practice. That's all it is. You'll kill it. Don't worry about it. All is well. So now I guess we'll talk about object creation. So how do you actually make things in 3ds Max? So bulk of your time in 3ds Max is going to be in this menu over here. So this is your creation menu basically. Now the actual menu itself can be changed. So see if you click your mouse here, and you've got your little draggy thing. So you can drag it in or out, whatever you want depending on your screen res. I just keep it at 2 panels because, as you'll see later on, when you select a lot of options, or when you select certain things, a lot of options come up here. So I just like 2 panels. It just keeps it, most of it contained, so you're not scrolling through and that sort of thing. Again, these are all personal preferences. You can set it up however you want. If you want it, 10, whatevs, I don't care. And like that's across the board too, so you can customize any sort of window. But for the sake of this, we'll just keep it at 2 panels. So this is your main creation window. So as you can see up the top here, there's a whole bunch of different tabs. So we're currently by default in the Create tab. You've got Modify, Hierarchy, a whole bunch of other ones. We won't worry about them for now. We'll just hang out with the Create tab. So under the Create tab, you've got Geometry selected. So it's like a second tab row here. So Geometry is the main one. Then you've got Spline, or Shapes they call them, Lights, Camera, Action. Then you've got Helpers and Systems, etc. So we just need to hang out at the Geometry tab here. So, and make sure it's set to standard primitives. There are quite a lot of other things in here which we won't worry about. So standard primitives, easy. So these are your actual primitives themselves, your actual basic shapes. Now the process of creating each shape is slightly different, but in general it's the same. So I'll show you how it works with each shape. So we've got a box. So just click on the box here. Now move your cursor over into the viewport here. So if you click and hold, so left click and hold. So what you're doing, you're just bringing out the bottom plane here, just like that's your base of your cube here, or your box. Now once you're happy with the size, so like let's just say we put it there and we're happy, you let go of the mouse button. And what that does is it brings the height of the actual cube itself. Now if you're happy with the height, then you just click the mouse button again and that object has been made. So let's go through that again. Grab a box, click, left click, hold, and drag. And then you're just like, alright, well that's pretty cool. So we'll just make a rectangle, let go of the mouse button, then that brings it up to the drag area, the height. And once you're happy with where it is, click again. You've created a box. So quite simple. Now the box might not be black by default, so I'll show you how that works. The reason I have black is because when I do I usually use a grey material, and then that's the outline itself. This will make sense later on. So if you just click on a little hammer here, so see how we've got the little black box here, so yours might be a different colour. So you can actually change the colour of the box through here. So by default I think it's set to assign random colours, so when you're actually creating boxes you'll get like fucking pale green, pink and all that, but I think that's ridiculous personally. So I just keep it simple, no random colours, black to start with. So easy. So that's the box. So now with the box, let's just create a box. Now we'll just move over here. I'll just show you the modify window briefly. We'll be going back into it quite in depth later on. But if so you've got your box that you've just made. So you click on the modify window and you've also got parameters. So when you make a box, if you want to, you can be more specific. So let's just say I wanted 100 centimeters, 100 centimeters, 101 centimeters, sure, and 100. So that just makes it at a specific measurement. And then when we get more into actual modeling, there's you've got your length segments, your width, and your height segments. So you can't see anything with the box at the moment, but if you press the F4 button, that brings up the actual edge of the box. They call it edge faces. It tells you that up here, so you've got realistic plus edge faces. So what you do with this view is if you crank up the length segments, you'll add another segment to the box. Width, another segment, and height, another segment. So this is useful for modeling later on, but it's just the options are there. And again, like, you know, doing it more accurately does have its purpose too. But, you know, if you want your freedom, you can just, you know, go nuts, whatever. That's how you make a box. Now I'll just go through all these shapes. So we've got a sphere. So spheres are quite easy. You don't have to do any fancy jazz. You just literally click and drag, and you got a sphere. You know, easy as. And we are rocking and rolling. So I'll just drag a sphere. Now, if you just click and drag, you've got your parameters. You can actually edit without going through the modifier window. So segments again. So it's set at 32 by default. You can go 16, make it a bit more blocky, old school Nintendo 64 graphics style. And that's just your division. So obviously, the higher this number, the smoother it's going to be. So if we go 64. Like the 64, nice and smooth, but again taxing. So that's just how you make smoother and not so smoother objects. So that's across the board. There's your segments. That is your sphere. So spheres are pretty cool. Actually, I don't really use a lot of spheres. I mean, a bunch of triangles on the top. And I don't need that shit. Now cylinders. So this is your bread and butter, man. The cylinder, man. This is the main one. So similar to a box, so you click and hold, that creates your radius of the cylinder. Let go, you're doing the height, and then click to confirm. Now I've had the height segments set to default, set to 5, so that's why I've got a lot more segments. So if we just bring them back to 0, that's what yours should look like. And then you've got your sides to your cylinder here, so obviously the higher, smoother it is. With cylinders, it's nice just to have sort of divisions of 4. So, you know, if you go 16, for example, you can just cut the cylinder in half nicely. So that's just something to be aware of when you're working. You know, the numbers do kind of count. But anyway, like 16 is nice, 32 is nice, you know what I mean. So that's your cylinder. Very useful. You'll be using cylinders a lot. That's sort of your bread and butter of modeling. You got a Taurus, which I never fucking use, big donut thing. Anyway, to make a Taurus, so you just click and drag. So just kind of makes the width or the radius of the Taurus, and you just release, and that'll be the actual thickness of the Taurus. So you go, lovely donut. I got a teapot, which you don't really fucking use. It's just there, kind of like a legacy item, I think. It'd probably be useful for trying stuff. I don't bother with them. Got a cone. Anyone wants a cone? Nice and easy. Similar to a cylinder. So just click and hold. That brings out the base. Then you let go. That's the height. Then click again, and you got your cone shape there. So you want a nice even cone. Done. I don't really use cones much. I'm a big fan of cones. Geosphere. Don't really use a geosphere. You got a tube, which is kind of how can be useful, I guess. But you'll find, like with like modeling, like you'll just stick to the basic ones for the most part. I mean, well, maybe not. Maybe you'll figure out your own way. I don't know. I'll just rapping on what I do. But yeah. So the tube. Yep. So anyway, that's your base. How thick do you want the tube? Do you want a thin tube or a thick one? And then just like a cylinder, the height. So you know that's useful. I mean, you can make that with a cylinder quite easy too. So I don't really bother with that one, but again, it's there if you need it. You got a pyramid, so kind of like a box base, and then you just bring it up, and poof, we've got a pyramid. Easy. That's kind of cool. And plane. So plane is, you'll be using planes tons, man. Plane is exactly that. It's just a flat surface, and my width was. Hang on, I'll just do that again. So there's my plane, and my length segments were set up for some weird reason. Easy. So planes are, yeah, you'd be surprised, like, you know, like planes are sort of just like a good starter, you know. It's just like, oh, I want to make a motorbike, well, we'll just start with a plane kind of thing, you know. It's just yeah, it just works. Like I use planes tons, you know. They're just very useful. Yeah, cylinders, let's say, like out of these primitives, planes, cylinders and boxes, they're your main ones, you know. You don't really have to worry about the others. So that's how you make objects in 3ds Max. So it's pretty simple, man.